From the crucial decision-making process to the inside scoop on the automotive industry. This is the story of why Red Bull chose Ford and not Honda. Welcome to Back on Track. Today we're going to talk about something that's been on everyone's minds in the world of Formula One. Why did Red Bull Racing switch to Ford instead of sticking with Honda? Red Bull Racing's relationship with engine suppliers. When Red Bull Racing first entered the Formula One scene in 2005, they started off working with Renault. And hey, things were pretty good at first. Red Bull Racing was making a name for itself, and Renault was providing them with a solid engine. But as time went on, tensions started to rise. See, Red Bull Racing is always expecting more from their suppliers, and that can put a lot of pressure on the engine manufacturers. There were times when Red Bull Racing was openly critical of Renault, and there were even rumors of them looking for a new engine supplier. After a successful partnership with Renault, Red Bull Racing made the switch to Honda in 2019. On one hand, the Honda engine brought some serious power and helped Red Bull Racing to win races. But on the other hand, it also brought some serious reliability issues. And we all know that in Formula One, reliability is the key. So naturally, there was some tension between Red Bull Racing and Honda. Red Bull Racing wanted a reliable engine that could help them compete at the highest level, and Honda just wasn't delivering on that front. Now, we're not saying that the partnership was a complete disaster. There were definitely some positives to take away from it. But let's just say that Red Bull Racing was not entirely satisfied with the situation. After Honda announced their departure from Formula One at the end of the 2021 season, Red Bull Racing was left in a bit of a pickle. They needed a new engine supplier, and they needed one fast. And that's where Ford comes in. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, Ford doesn't even have a presence in Formula One. What are they doing supplying engines to Red Bull Racing? That's a great question. And the answer lies in Red Bull Racing's history with Ford. Back in the day, Red Bull Racing used to use Cosworth engines, which were supplied by Ford. And let us tell you, those engines were no slouch. In fact, they helped Red Bull Racing to their first ever win in Formula One back in 2009. So, when it came time for Red Bull Racing to find a new engine supplier, they looked at their past success with Ford. And after some negotiations, they were able to strike a deal. Now, we're not suggesting that the Ford engine is going to be a silver bullet for Red Bull Racing. There's still a lot of unknowns and variables at play. But what we're saying is that Red Bull Racing has a history of success with Ford, and that could bode well for them in the future. All in all, it's going to be an interesting season for Red Bull Racing. They've got a new engine supplier, a new driver lineup, and some serious competition from the likes of Mercedes and Ferrari. But if there's one thing we know about Red Bull Racing, is that they're never afraid to take risks and push the limits. So buckle up, folks, because this is going to be a wild ride. The decision to switch to Ford. Alright, so we've talked about Red Bull Racing's history with engine suppliers and their rocky relationship with Honda. But what about their choice to transition to Ford? How did that come about? Well, it all started with a need for reliability. Red Bull Racing has always been known for pushing the limits, but they needed an engine that could keep up with their demands. After all, what good is a fast car if it keeps breaking down on the track? So, they began exploring their options. And while they had been working on developing their own engine program, they realized that partnering with an established engine supplier was the way to go. And that's where Ford came in. Now, you might be wondering why Red Bull Racing didn't just stick with Honda. After all, their partnership was successful in terms of performance. But as we mentioned earlier, there were issues with reliability, and that led to tension between the two parties. So, Red Bull Racing began considering other options, and Ford seemed like the perfect fit. Not only did they have a reputation for reliability, but they also offered Red Bull Racing more control over the development process. You see, one of the issues that Red Bull Racing had with Honda was that they felt like they didn't have enough say in the development process. They wanted to be more involved, to have more control over the engine that powered their cars. And that's exactly what Ford offered. Of course, there were other factors at play as well. For example, Red Bull Racing wanted an engine that could compete with the Mercedes and Ferrari, and they believed that Ford had the potential to deliver that. But ultimately, it came down to reliability and control. And that's why Red Bull Racing made the decision to switch suppliers. Now, It's important to know that this is all speculation. Red Bull Racing has yet to confirm their partnership with Ford, and there are still many uncertainties. But if they do end up partnering with Ford, it will certainly be an interesting development in the realm of Formula One. So there you have it. Red Bull Racing's decision to switch to Ford wasn't made lightly, but it was made with their goals in mind. And if everything goes according to plan, it could be a game changer for the team. The benefits of the Ford partnership. You know what's even better than a team that dominates the racetrack? A team with an engine that they built themselves. That's right. Red Bull Racing has teamed up with Ford to create their own engine, and it's been an absolute game changer for the team. Let's dive into the benefits of this partnership. First off, the partnership with Ford has given Red Bull Racing increased authority in engine development. They're able to tailor the engine to their specific needs, rather than relying on an outside supplier to provide them with an engine that may not be a perfect fit. This greater control has led to a more reliable engine overall, which is crucial in the high-stakes world of Formula One racing. With the Ford partnership, Red Bull Racing has been able to explore new technological developments as well, particularly in the area of hybrid technology. This has given the team an edge over their competitors as they're able to experiment with new ideas and technologies that other teams may not have access to. It's thrilling to witness a team pushing the boundaries like this and really driving innovation in the sport. Now, let's talk about on-track success. With the Ford engine, Red Bull Racing will be absolutely dominant. They will win multiple races and even claim the Constructors' Championship in their first year with the engine. The reliability of the engine is a key factor in their success, as they're able to push the limits on the tracks without worrying about the engine failing on them. This has given the drivers the confidence that they need to really go all out and push for the win. But it's not just reliability that's driving their success. The Ford engine has also given Red Bull Racing an edge in terms of power and speed. They're able to hit higher top speeds and accelerate faster than many of their competitors, which has been a key factor in their ability to pass and overtake other cars on the track. This increased speed has also helped them to qualify higher on the grid, giving them a better starting position for the race. Overall, the partnership with Ford has been a huge win for Red Bull Racing. They've gained greater control over engine development, explored new technologies, and seen incredible success on the track. It's exciting to see a team take such a bold step and really push the boundaries of what's possible in Formula One racing. Who knows what innovations they'll come up with next? One thing's for sure, with the Ford engine powering their cars, Red Bull Racing is a team to watch out for. Well folks, that was quite a ride, so let's recap the main points. Red Bull Racing has gained a reputation for continuously pushing boundaries and having high expectations from their engine providers. This has led to some tense relationships in the past, but their partnership with Honda was initially successful in terms of performance. However, there were issues with the reliability, which caused tension between the two parties. As a result, Red Bull Racing decided to switch to Ford. The need for a more reliable engine and the desire for more control over the process of development were major factors in this decision. Red Bull Racing had also been working on their own engine development program for a while, which played a role in their decision to partner with Ford. As for the wider Formula One landscape, this decision could have significant implications. Red Bull Racing is one of the top teams in the sport, and their success could influence other teams to follow suit and seek out similar partnerships. It could also lead to a shift in power by dynamics within the sport, as teams with more control over their engine development could potentially gain an advantage over their rivals. In conclusion, Ford was chosen by Red Bull Racing as their new choice. It was a strategic move that has paid off in terms of on-track performance. Their partnership with Ford has given them greater control over engine development, which has put them in a stronger position to compete at the highest level. It will be interesting to see how this decision plays out in the future and whether it has wider implications for the sport as a whole. Hope you learned something new today. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We'll see you in the next video.